The city of Kronos stood perpetually on the precipice of tomorrow, its spires of chrome and luminescence reaching for a sky that bled through shades of perpetual twilight. But tonight, tomorrow was not coming, not for anyone. All around, the intricate dance of temporal mechanics that governed the metropolis ceased. Digital clocks, embedded in every surface, from holographic billboards to the polished obsidian of apartment windows, froze. One moment. 01742. The next. 01742. And so it remained. The city lights, usually a symphony of synchronized pulses, flickered in impossible patterns, not of malfunction, but of a profound, cosmic stutter. They blinked. Elara Vance, time smuggler, felt at first as a prickle of unease, a faint discord in the hum of the temporal field that was as natural to her as breathing. She was perched on the edge of a skydock, the wind whipping strands of auburn hair across her face. Below, the city was a tapestry of frozen moments, each individual light a trapped ember of time. Her chronometer, a sleek, wrist-mounted device capable of nudging milliseconds, was dead, utterly inert. "That's not right," she murmured, her voice barely audible above the rising wind. Her fingers, calloused from a lifetime of manipulating temporal flux, traced the unresponsive screen. Not a surge, not a drain. Just gone. A low thrum, a sound that vibrated more in her bones than her ears, drew her attention. From the smog-choked underbelly of the city, a sleek, obsidian courier drone ascended, its single, cyclopean eye a piercing emerald. It hovered, a silent sentinel, before emitting a soft, resonant ping. Alara's comm unit, miraculously still alive, chirped. "Vance," a voice crisp and devoid of warmth, crackled through Detective Kaido Ishikawa, the Quantum Division, the bane of her existence, and infuriatingly, the only one who understood the subtle art of temporal larceny. "Ishikawa," Alara replied, her own voice laced with suspicion. "Fancy hearing from the men in white gloves? Everything suddenly go sideways down there?" "Sideways is an understatement, Vance. The entire city's temporal anchor has been severed. Clocks are frozen. Public chronometers are displaying static. We have reports of temporal bleed-through on the lower sectors." Ishikawa's voice tightened. "This isn't a glitch. This is an attack." Ilara's breath hitched. An attack that meant someone had the capability to unravel time itself. Who? And more importantly, why? "That's what I'm hoping you can help me with, Vance. You have unique insights into the black market for temporal anomalies. Information the division finds elusive." Ilara scoffed. "You want me to help you track down the people who just shut down my business, my livelihood, my life. Your life, Vance, might be in danger too. This isn't just about disrupting Kronos. This is about rewriting it. And someone has stolen something significant. Something that could unravel causality itself." "Stolen future seconds?" Ilara guessed, a cold dread coiling in her stomach. It was the ultimate crime, the one whispered about in hushed tones, the one that could shatter the delicate illusion of free will. "Precisely, and whatever was taken. The perpetrator has a distinct interest in keeping it from being returned. The temporal fabric is already showing signs of strain. Paradoxes are beginning to coalesce." Ilara stared at the frozen cityscape, the flickering lights now a testament to a looming disaster. She lived by her own rules, bending time to her will, but she never broke it. Not like this. The idea of stolen future seconds, of lives being erased from existence before they even occurred, was anathema. "Where do we meet?" she asked, the question hanging in the air, a silent acknowledgement of a shared, terrifying reality. "The Oracle's archive, sub-level Gamma, 15 minutes in advance." Ishikawa's voice dropped, a subtle warning. "Don't try anything foolish." "You know me too well, Detective," Ilara replied, a wry smile touching her lips as she disconnected. She glanced at the drone still hovering patiently. "Looks like our paths are converging, partner. Let's see what kind of mess we're in." She keyed a sequence into her comm, a silent request to her own clandestine network. Time, it seemed, was now her enemy. and she was going to need every advantage she could get. The Oracle's archive was less a library and more a repository of crystallized knowledge, a vast, echoing chamber where data flowed not in streams of light but in shimmering, spectral forms. Each shard held a fragment of history, a whispered prophecy, a forgotten science. It was a place where the past, present, and potential futures intertwined. A labyrinth of information. Alara navigated its subdued, humming aisles, her steps light and purposeful. The temporal anomaly had left the archive eerily still, the usual ebb and flow of information muted. Kaito Ishikawa was waiting for her by a central console, his posture rigid, his dark uniform a stark contrast to the ethereal surroundings. Its face, usually a mask of stern professionalism, was etched with a weariness that spoke of sleepless nights and mounting pressure. He held a small crystalline device in his palm, its surface rippling with a faint internal light. "You're late," he stated, his gaze sharp. "Traffic was a nightmare," Alara retorted, her eyes scanning the room. Or rather, the distinct lack of it. "What have you got?" Ishikawa turned the device over. "This is a temporal resonance scanner. It's designed to track quantum signatures left by temporal displacement. The stolen seconds left a distinct imprint." He met her gaze. "They were taken from a temporal vault in Sector 7, a high-security facility that stores predictive algorithms. Probability matrices of future events." Alara whistled softly. "Not just random seconds, then. They've stolen the potential for specific futures." "Precisely, and the signatures are erratic, almost deliberately so. Whoever did this is skilled, extremely skilled. They're weaving through temporal eddies, attempting to mask their trail." He activated the scanner. A faint, shimmering line of light snaked out from the device, pointing towards a darkened alcove. "It's faint, but it's a lead." They moved in tandem, a strange, almost choreographed dance of predator and prey. Alara's intuition, honed by years of navigating the temporal underbelly, complemented Ishikawa's by-the-book precision. The scanner's trail led them deeper into the archive, past dormant data nodes and holographic projections of long-dead scholars. The air grew colder, the silence more profound. "What kind of futures were in that vault?" Alara asked, her voice a low murmur. "That's classified, Vance. But consider this. Imagine the power of knowing. With near certainty, the outcome of a market crash, a political election, a scientific breakthrough. Now imagine having the ability to subtly alter the conditions that lead to that outcome, or worse, to prevent it entirely." Alara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature, and the ones who stole them. They gain control over what will be, or they erase what should be, Ishikawa corrected, his tone grave. "This is beyond simple profit, Vance. This is about control on a cosmic scale. We believe they're operating as a syndicate, a hidden organization that seeks to manipulate timelines for their own ends. They're known only as the Chronosynclastic Infundibulum." Alara snorted. "Catchy. What do they look like?" "They don't, not publicly. They operate from the shadows, using proxies and veiled operations, but we have evidence of their existence, fragmented data, encrypted communications, and a disturbing pattern of temporal anomalies that precede major historical shifts, anomalies that conveniently benefit certain entities." The scanner's beam pulsed, growing stronger. It now pointed to a large, cylindrical data vault, its entrance sealed by a formidable energy field. "This is it," Ishikawa said, his hand hovering over a concealed panel. "The imprint terminates here. They access something within this vault." He looked at Alara. The breach was clean. No forced entry. They must have had internal access, or they used a quantum tunneling device. Alara knelt, examining the seamless join between the vault door and its frame. No residual energy signature, no molecular displacement. They didn't force it, they persuaded it. She ran a hand over the cold metal. "This is beyond the capabilities of any known temporal tech, Kaito. This is fundamental manipulation." Ishikawa activated his comm. "Kaito to command. We've located the point of origin. Requesting quantum decryption protocols for Vault 7 Delta. Authorization Omega 9. A moment of static, then a calm, synthesized voice replied. "Acknowledged. Decryption sequence initiating." Estimated time, 3 cycles. 3 cycles? Alara frowned. The city's temporal field is degrading. We don't have 3 cycles. As if on cue, a tremor ran through the archive. The spectral data shards flickered violently, their light dimming and flaring. The steady hum of the temporal anchor faltered, replaced by an erratic, stuttering pulse. Command, the anchor is destabilizing faster than projected, Ishikawa reported, his voice urgent. We need immediate access. Command acknowledges decryption at 40%. Unforeseen temporal resistance detected. Estimated time, 5 cycles. Alara swore under her breath. They're actively fighting the decryption, trying to erase whatever they took, or worse, corrupt the data. She looked at Ishikawa. The scanner. Where else is the imprint leading? Ishikawa brought up a holographic projection of the city. The scanner's beam was now a faint, almost imperceptible thread, branching off from the vault and weaving its way through the labyrinthine streets of Kronos. It's diffused now, like they've dispersed the stolen energy, but there's a convergence point. Sector 4, the old industrial district. Specifically, if they're going to manipulate future seconds, they'll need a significant entanglement matrix to anchor those alterations. So they're not just stealing future seconds, they're planning to implant them. Alara realized the implications chilling. To rewrite reality itself. The archive lurched again, a violent shudder that sent data shards raining down. Many dissolved into dust upon hitting the floor. Command status report. Ishikawa barked into his comm. Now. Ishikawa hesitated for a fraction of a second, his gaze flicking from his comm to Alara. The oath he swore was to uphold the law, to maintain temporal integrity. But the reality unfolding before him was beyond the scope of his training. If we go to Echo Labs, we're operating outside division protocols. Any evidence we recover, anything we do, will be inadmissible. And if we wait here, there might not be any timelines left for your protocols to apply to. Alara countered, her voice sharp. Your oath is to protect time, detective, not to follow the rules when time is— Echo Labs, it is. But if this goes south, I'm blaming you. Deal, Alara said, a grim determination settling over her. She activated her displacement unit. Hang on tight. This is going to be a bumpy ride through the fractured present. The abandoned Echo Laboratories were a skeletal monument to a forgotten era of scientific ambition. Rust had gnawed at the metal struts, and ivy had woven a thick, verdant shroud over the crumbling facade. Inside, the air was thick with the cloying scent of decay and ozone, a testament to the volatile experiments that had once taken place within its walls. Ishikawa and Alara materialized in a cavernous main hall, the faint, residual shimmer of Alara's temporal displacement unit fading rapidly. The city's chaotic, flickering lights were even more pronounced here, casting long, distorted shadows that danced like phantoms. The scanner's trace ends here, Ishikawa stated, his voice amplified by the hollow space. He raised a compact energy rifle, his movements precise and economical. And the entanglement readings are off the charts, Alara added, her own temporal scanner buzzing with activity. They've set up some kind of massive quantum resonance chamber. They moved through the derelict facility, their footsteps echoing unnervingly. Discarded equipment lay scattered, dust-covered, but hinting at the advanced technology that had once filled these halls. A colossal circular chamber dominated the heart of the complex. In its center, a colossal apparatus pulsed with an eerie amethyst light. It was a lattice of interwoven crystalline conduits, humming with raw, untamed quantum energy. At its core, a small contained singularity shimmered, a miniature black hole that seemed to absorb all ambient light. That's significant, Ishikawa breathed, his eyes wide with professional awe, quickly replaced by a grim understanding. That's enough entanglement power to rewrite the probability of entire futures. And that's where they're going to anchor the stolen seconds. Alara finished, pointing to a sleek, black console positioned near the apparatus. Look. On the console's primary display, a complex waveform pulsed, interspersed with shimmering fragments of code. It was an interface designed to manipulate temporal causality. and scattered throughout the code, like digital parasites, were the distinct signatures of stolen future seconds. They're in the process of integrating them, Ishikawa realized, his voice strained. The city's temporal freeze, it's not just a side effect. It's a necessary condition for their operation. They need a static timeline to precisely insert their desired futures. Suddenly, the amethyst glow of the entanglement chamber intensified, the miniature singularity at its core pulsed, expanding slightly. The air crackled with energy. "They're almost done," Alara said, her hand hovering over a concealed compartment on her belt. "We have to stop them, now." We mean to disable the chamber," Ishikawa stated, aiming his rifle. "But if we disrupt it prematurely, the stolen seconds might collapse, taking a chunk of our own timeline with them. It's a paradox waiting to happen." A low, sibilant whisper echoed from the shadows of the chamber. "A paradox is merely a matter of perspective, Detective." From the darkness emerged a figure, cloaked and hooded, their face obscured. Beside them, another figure, equally shrouded, materialized as if from the very air, the Syndicate, eliminating unfortunate deviations, ensuring a more optimal future for all. The second figure stepped forward, their cloak parting slightly to reveal a face that was disturbingly familiar. It was a younger, harder version of Professor Eris Thorne, Alara's former mentor, a brilliant but disgraced temporal physicist. Alara gasped. "Professor Thorne?" Thorne's spectral projection, for that's what it appeared to be, gave a faint, chilling smile. "A phantom of your memory, perhaps, or a glimpse of a future you will never witness, Alara." "But you're dead," Alara stammered, recalling the official reports, the tragic lab accident. "Death is a mere temporal inconvenience," Thorne's projection replied. "And my work, it was never finished. These stolen seconds are not for profit, Detective. They are for correction, to erase the mistakes that led to certain outcomes." He gestured vaguely. "The rise of inefficient governance, the stagnation of true progress." "You're not correcting anything," Ishikawa stated, his voice firm. "You're usurping free will. You're imposing your own twisted vision of destiny." "Destiny is a fragile thing, easily nudged," Thorne's projection said, "and your intervention, Detective, is merely an anomaly to be corrected. Just like the city's current state was an anomaly to be stabilized." The first hooded figure turned to Thorne. "The integration is complete. The temporal anchor is established." As they spoke, the amethyst light of the entanglement chamber pulsed once more, a blinding flash that engulfed the room. Alara instinctively shielded her eyes. When the light subsided, the chamber was still, the miniature singularity gone, the console now displaying a stable, unwavering waveform. The city's chaotic flickering outside had ceased. The lights blinked in a steady, predictable rhythm. The temporal freeze was over. "What have you done?" Alara whispered, her heart sinking. "We have ensured a more orderly tomorrow," the hooded figure replied, their voice now carrying a strange resonance. "A tomorrow free from the inefficiencies of your present." Ishikawa's temporal scanner, which had been buzzing erratically, now emitted a low, steady tone. "The temporal signatures, they're gone, dispersed, incorporated." He looked at the console. "The stolen seconds are now part of the established timeline. They're not just influencing the future, they are the future." "But how?" Alara asked, confused. "If the seconds were stolen from the vault, how can they be integrated without causing a paradox?" Thorne's projection finally coalesced, revealing his face more clearly. It was indeed Thorne, but his eyes held an unnerving, otherworldly glow. "The vault did not contain future seconds, Alara. It contained potential futures, futures that were never realized, futures that were deemed undesirable by the infundibulum. We did not steal them, we selected them, and by altering the conditions that led to their suppression, we allowed them to manifest. You didn't steal them. You created them," Alara breathed, the implication dawning on her. "You manipulated the causal chain to make them happen." "Precisely," Thorne said, "and now your presence here, your attempt to interfere, that is the anomaly." The two hooded figures turned their attention to Alara and Ishikawa. The air around them seemed to thicken, the very fabric of reality pressing in. The Syndicate cannot afford to have their timelines exposed, Ishikawa realized. If we expose them, they risk their own existence. They are willing to erase anyone who threatens their carefully constructed future. Including us, Ilara added, her hand finally closing around her temporal displacement unit. The first hooded figure raised a hand, and a wave of pure temporal force emanated from them, pushing against Ilara and Ishikawa, trying to unmake them. The walls of the chamber began to ripple, the solid metal twisting and contorting. "We have made our choices, Ilara," Thorn's projection said, a hint of regret in his spectral voice. "You must make yours." Ilara looked at Ishikawa. The detective was already preparing to fire, his rifle humming with energy, but he was facing not just two individuals, but a fundamental distortion of causality. "If we engage them directly," Ilara said, her voice strained against the temporal pressure, "we risk a catastrophic temporal backlash. They've woven themselves into the new timeline. Dislodging them could unravel everything." "Then what do we do?" Ishikawa grunted, firing a blast of energy that was absorbed by the shimmering field surrounding the Syndicate members. "We can't fight this directly, not here, not now. We have to expose them, but not like this. We need proof. Irrefutable proof that the Infundibulum exists and that they've manipulated time." Ilara's eyes darted to the console, then to Thorn's projection. "Professor Thorn, your research. It was groundbreaking. You believed in the inherent order of the universe. This is chaos masquerading as order." Thorn's projection flickered, a shadow of his former self momentarily surfacing. "The order I sought was one of potential, Ilara, not of imposition." "Then help me," Ilara pleaded. "You may be a projection, but your memories, your knowledge, it's still there. Help me find the true origins of their operation, the original data that proves what they've done." The two hooded figures advanced, their temporal shields pushing harder. Ishikawa was forced to retreat, firing defensive bursts. "The data is in the primary vault," Thorn's projection whispered, his voice growing fainter. "Sector 7. But it's protected. They've layered it with paradox inhibitors. Anything that tries to extract it directly, it simply ceases to exist." Ilara's mind raced. Paradox inhibitors. That meant a direct download was impossible, but if it doesn't cease to exist, if it's simply diverted. Her gaze fell on her temporal displacement unit, and a desperate plan formed. "Ishikawa, cover me." With a surge of adrenaline, Ilara sprinted towards the console, weaving past Ishikawa's defensive fire. The hooded figures reacted, their temporal shields coalescing into a solid barrier of force. Ilara reached the console, her fingers flying across the holographic interface, not to download, but to initiate a temporal divergence sequence, targeting the vault's core memory bank. "You cannot steal what is already your own, Professor," Ilara yelled, her voice echoing in the chamber. She slammed her hand down on the activation sequence. The chamber erupted in a blinding white light, far more intense than the amethyst pulse. Ilara felt a violent tug, as if her very being was being stretched across infinite timelines. She saw Thorn's projection flicker and dissipate. A final whispered, "Forgive me," carried on the temporal wind. The hooded figures shrieked as the paradox inhibitors, unable to fully erase the data, instead caused a localized temporal ripple that momentarily destabilized them. Ishikawa seized the opportunity. He fired a concentrated burst of temporal energy, not at the figures, but at the now unstable entanglement chamber itself. The apparatus groaned, sparks flying, and the miniature singularity reappeared, not at its core, but rippling outwards, a nascent wave of temporal chaos. "Vance, get out of here," Ishikawa yelled, pulling Ilara back towards his displacement unit. "The data," Ilara gasped, struggling to stay coherent. "It's not erased. It's fragmented, spread across probability streams. They materialized back on the skydock. The city lights, now a steady, if unsettling beacon of order. The clocks displayed 03:18:05. A full minute had passed, a minute that had felt like an eternity. Ilara's temporal scanner, though battered, still emitted a faint, persistent hum. "What happened?" Ishikawa asked, his voice hoarse. "Did we stop them? Alara clutched her scanner, its display showing a chaotic mess of data fragments, each a tiny echo of the stolen seconds, scattered across potential timelines. We didn't stop them. Not completely. They integrated their chosen futures. The city is stable again. She looked at the scanner, but their operation, it's not hidden anymore. Thorn's last act in the paradox inhibitors. They fractured the evidence. The data is no longer a single cohesive unit, it's scattered, and we have the means to collect it, piece by piece, each fragment a testament to their manipulation. Ishikawa looked at the city, now appearing deceptively normal. So, they've won this round. They've won the battle for Kronos. Alara corrected, a grim smile touching her lips. But the war for time? That's just beginning. The Chronosynclastic Infundibulum thought they could rewrite reality without consequence. They were wrong. Now we hunt them across every probability stream, every divergent timeline, and we expose them. We bring their carefully constructed reality crashing down, one stolen second at a time. The wind whipped around them, carrying the faint, spectral whispers of 1,000 unlived futures. The game had changed, and Alara Vance, time smuggler, and Kaido Ishikawa, quantum detective, were now its unwilling yet determined players.